Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about fig wasp and fig fruit symbiosis. Now, this is the first time I've ever done a presentation like this on in a video format, so hopefully it goes pretty well. This is actually my second attempt at making this. The first one I tried to use Microsoft Paint, and then I realized that I couldn't do everything that I wanted, so I've converted it to PowerPoint now. Hopefully it works out a little bit smoother than what I had in the beginning. So let's get started. Alright. We start out, we're just going to open it up with a little joke. This says the interdependence of the fig and fig wasp is thus one of the nature's most intricate partnerships. And if you don't get the joke, then maybe we didn't beat it to death enough in class, or this just might not be your thing. But I thought it was funny. And another thing is, when I initially did it, I realized that this right here is not the opening of which the wasp would go into. So we'll figure that out later on. Let's start off with the definition. The definition we're going to take a look at is mutualism. And I typed it over here on the side of the screen, and it says a symbiotic relationship between two individuals of different species where both individuals benefit. Now, I took that definition from just what I knew off the top of my head by my reading, so I don't really have any exact sources I got it from, but compared to all the other sources that I looked at, it's a pretty accurate definition. And I mean that's what it is. It's two individuals of two different species benefiting from each other in a relationship. And I just added this picture. I tried to find a Far Side picture, but I couldn't find one. And well, it's not a very accurate representation of mutualism, I know, but you see two animals working together for a common benefit. And there are three different types of mutualism. One type is cleaning. Cleaning mutualism is pretty straightforward. You have one organism going into another, in a relationship with another organism where one is gaining a benefit of nutrients and the other is gaining essentially a clean bill of health. Now, I included the crocodile and the plover example because you see the plover right here is going inside of the crocodile's mouth and it's picking out different parasites that could infect the crocodile later on. So it's exactly that. The plover is gaining nutrients and the crocodile is gaining the benefit of a healthy mouth. Now, there are other examples such as the oxpecker and the water buffalo, where the oxpecker picks off ticks and the water buffalo doesn't have ticks anymore on it. But for this example, this is the one I used, and that's exactly what it is. Another form of mutualism is pollination, and pollination just states that it's mutualism between a plant and an animal. So, for example, a bee will go to a flower, collect nectar, and then as it's taking nectar, the plant will deposit pollen on the on the fibrous hairs and on the legs of the bee, and as the bee flies around to other flowers, they become pollinated by that flower. So it's kind of it's in a way of reproduction, but it's reproduction in the form of pollination. And it doesn't have to be a bee, it can be a bird, it can be a bat, it can be a beetle, whatever relationship where one animal is gaining nutrients from a plant and then transporting genetic material to other plants when the plant is unable to do that because it's a plant and it can't travel. I mean, it is wind insemination, but that's not the case when looking at pollination. And something else we can look at is maybe the fig wasp and fig fruit example that we're going to be hitting on heavily in this presentation is an example of pollination. It's more of an example on the next form we're going to talk about of mutualism rather than pollination, but there is no way around saying that it's not pollination mutualism. But we'll get to that as we move forward. That third part of mutualism is reproduction, and that is where the fig wasp and fig fruit example comes in. You have an animal that needs the fig fruit to reproduce and to have, in order for it to deposit its eggs inside of something, and then you have the fig fruit being pollinated by fig wasps in the process. And I mean, I picked this picture because it said exactly what I was trying to say. But a lot of mutualistic relationships can be considered a life or death scenario, and this is one of them. True mutualism, depending on what definition you're looking at, can be anywhere from as simple as an oxpecker and a water buffalo, or it could be as complex as a fig wasp and fig fruit, which is, again, life and death. If the fig wasp doesn't have the fig, then it cannot reproduce because that's where it deposits its eggs. And the fig fruit will not be able to pollinate other fig trees without this relationship with this wasp. So you have two organisms that genuinely need each other. And that, to me, kind of defines mutualism, is that dependence on that relationship between two different organisms. But let's move on, and I'm going to show you how this actually works. So here we go. We got our fig right here. We got our fig wasp over here. So this female fig wasp is going to fly over to the fig, and it's going to meet the fig and land on it, and then it's going to access the fig fruit from this area right here. Now, remember the picture, and I said that the area was, or that the picture showed an opening up around here. That is incorrect. It is going to go through an area down here, and it is going to go inside the fig fruit from there. Now, once it accesses this part of the fruit, it's going to go inside, and then she is going to begin to deposit eggs. Maybe here, maybe some here, maybe some here, maybe some here. Doesn't really like that spot right there. So it's going to put some here. But I really like this spot, so we're going to put some there. And she's going to say, what the heck? Let's drop one right here. And then the mother fig wasp is going to leave and then go off back into doing what she's doing. Now, over time, these eggs are going to develop and then they're going to hatch. Now, once they hatch, they're going to use the inside of the fig fruit as nutrients. So they're going to eat away at the inside of this fig fruit. So they're going to eat and eat, and they're going to eat some more. Now I'm using two different colors, and I'll explain this when I'm done drawing. But realize they're going to eat their way through. Now, here's where the colors come in play. So you have the green one, the green lines and the purple lines. Well, I drew green to represent male. So draw the M right there, and then I drew purple to be female. Now, how this works is the males they're just going to eat, essentially. They're just going to eat, and they're going to dig through as far as they can get, and then they're going to eventually die before they get out. Now, there may or may not be one or two males, or maybe more than that, depending on quantity of eggs, that might break free and get out. But even then, they're not going to survive long. So now, once the males have done their work inside of the fig fruit and they've died, the females are going to take up the rest of the nutrients inside of the fruit, and they are going to break through the casing of the fruit. And by the time this is over, the females are sexually mature and they are ready to mate. And how all this comes into play is when they are ready to mate, they're going to go out and then they're going to go find fig fruits. And they are going to eventually do the same thing the mother did, which they're going to go back in here. They're going to lay some more eggs. And the whole process is going to restart again and again. Now, let me just let me draw like an egg, so we know what the blue stands for. Again, just so we don't get confused. But as the female wasp breaks through the surface, they're going to collect genetic or reproductive material and carry that to the next fig fruit that they find. And as they go inside of the fig fruit, they're going to release the genetic material, and it's going to cause the fruit to germinate, and it's going to lead on to the reproduction of more fig fruits throughout the tree. Now, maybe someone who's not as familiar with symbiotic relationships might think, isn't that a parasitic relationship where an organism is going inside of another organism, eating it from the inside out, and then leaving? Is that really beneficial to that organism? Well, yes, because fruit, like any other fruit, will fall off the tree, and it will not harm the tree internally. It's just going to harm that fruit. Now, the fruit's going to drop off, and then it's going to allow another one to grow. So it's not really harming the tree, but the tree needs that transfer of pollen and genetic material to travel to other potential mates, because again, it's a tree and it can't walk around. I mean, I guess maybe in Lord of the Rings, yeah, it walks around, but this is not. This is actual scientific world here, and scientifically fact that trees do not walk. So it needs a fig wasp to do its reproductive work for it. And here's just an image that should be what it would look like when the fig wasp females emerge. Now you see where these spots right here were where they got through. Now there are a few other spots that aren't as dark brown or are not as open, where maybe they did not choose to go out. But you can see where they emerged from, and I mean, it doesn't look like it's harming the fruit too bad, but regardless, they're emerging from there, carrying the material to the next plant. And here's just another diagram, just kind of show what exactly happens again. But while you're looking at this, I'm just going to talk. You hear a lot of the terms highly specified and evolutionarily specified when looking at this symbiotic relationship. And those, as intimidating as those terms can be, we're essentially looking at specific relationships here. Like, you don't see the fig wasp going to other fruits and doing this process. You see them just going to the fig fruit. So something you might think about is, if the fig tree wasn't around, or if it went extinct, would the fig wasp go along with it? Now, another thing you could say, how would that affect the rest of the ecosystem if these two species didn't exist because their symbiotic relationship failed? Well, since it didn't, this is kind of a basis off of how scientists look at mutualistic relationships. This is the premier example of mutualism, and if this happens to happen in another species relationship, then this is the one that they're going to turn to as a template to kind of look at how it works. But that is thoughts for another presentation. So I just want to conclude by saying thank you for watching. If you have any comments or constructive, let me know. The scientific. I'm up for any constructive criticism. I'm not going to pay attention to the negative comments, obviously, but I'm all for constructive criticism and how to make better video presentations. So thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed learning about the fig wasp and the fig fruit symbiotic association. Thank you.